Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to SP Vids. Today I'm on the SP555. The 555's managed to make it back onto my desk and I thought I'd make some beats with it using the pattern sequencer. As you know, if you've been following the channel, I've been digging the pattern sequencers on the SP devices recently. I've been spending a lot of time with them, trying to get rid of those annoying little gaps at the end of loops and stuff like that. Starting to make a lot of progress with them actually, and putting some solid sounding beats together. So for this video, I'm going to talk you through how I put this beat together, and then I'm going to play the beat for you at the end. Use the SP555 with the pattern sequencer like I mentioned, and then I ran that beat through my tape deck, and then I've recorded from my tape deck to my laptop to get the final sound that I wanted. So yeah, I hope you enjoy watching this process. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to answer them below, and I'll gladly try and answer them for you. So let's get into this one. I'm going to go to the bird's eye view that I usually use, and then I'm going to talk you through how I made this beat. Right guys, so here we are at the SP555, and I've actually gone for a slightly different camera angle. I thought I'd try this one instead, so then I can use my DSLR rather than my phone. So I've got this mounted up on the tripod. So here we are with the SP555, and I hope you can see all the pads. So I've got some samples loaded in here. I've chopped it up, obviously. I'll share this record with my members, so members look out on the community tab for the link to this sample. And what I've done with these samples is I've put on MFX. So I hope you can see that on the screen. I'm using B12. So if you look at the key on here, B12 is bit crash. So I'm using bit crash on the samples. I'm not overly doing it, I'm just adding that little bit of electronic sound to it that bit crash can get you. So, and also what that helps to do is just take out a bit of the fullness of the sample as well, so it's not completely taking over the mix. I want some space for my drums. So the four that I used were 13, 14, 10, and 15 as well. So the first thing that I did was experimented around trying to find a pattern, and eventually got to this pattern, which was something like this. Okay, so that was the general pattern that I ended up coming up with. Then I've got my three drums here. Again, like usual, cut the tail right off my snare. I like them to have that nice snap to them. And what I basically did then was loosely finger drummed along with that pattern and used tap tempo. So I kind of got a BPM that I wanted. So I knew that was kind of the tempo I wanted, tapped it out on the hi-hat, and then transferred that to tap tempo to get the right tempo. So what I then did was flipped over to the pattern select, and the first thing I did was recorded a sequence that was the whole pattern but without the drums. So this is what I ended up getting in the pattern sequencer. I did an 8-bar loop, and it sounds something like this. This may actually be 4 bars because it's playing at double speed, the metronome, so I'll keep the metronome turned off for now because it's a bit loud. But yeah, it's 8 bars long, but I think because it's double time, it's actually only 4 bars, so check this out. Okay, so you get the idea, that just loops around and around. Then I've obviously added the drums to one of them, so that's on 13. And this is what it sounds like with the drums that I put underneath it. Now I did experiment with some sub bass on the top of that, but it didn't sit nicely in the mix. I just couldn't get it to sit nicely in the mix. I experimented with a few different notes and different locations of placing it, etc. But I just couldn't get it to sit nice in that loop. So I've actually ended up just leaving the bass out and relying on the bass that's in the sample. It's minimal, but I think for this particular drum loop and this particular loop of samples that I've used, I can actually get away with it just about. So I'm pretty happy with the sound of it, even without some like heavy sub bass underneath it, really. Okay, so the next thing I did is I picked up a little rap sample and placed that onto one of the pads. So if I come out of pattern select, sorry, and go to pad 11. Let the gunshots blow. So I got that. It just cuts off slightly because it then goes into another line, which I didn't want. I just wanted it to be that one little phrase. Let the gunshots blow. But it didn't really matter too much because the tail of that gets disguised by the rest of the beat, so there's no real reason to feel as if there's something cut off there. It just gets disguised in the rest of the beat. So what I started doing with that is playing it as a kind of DJ sort of style, like. And because I've got gate turned on that pad, I can experiment with the length of the sample that I want to play around with. If I just want a little bit, I can just press it on and off or hold it. So yeah, I got that. So I put that over a loop. So if we go back to pattern select and play that, you can see what I've done here to put that over the loop. Okay, so they were the three parts that I ended up making. I probably could have made another part with a pause in it at the start like I usually do. I quite like to have a bit where all the drums stop until the first snare of the bar. Haven't done that for this one, so the structure ended up being something along the lines of 15, which is just the sample with no drums, then to 13, which is just the normal loop with the drums, and then 14 to have the little rap vocal snippet over the top. And it was just a case of experimenting around with the order of those three patterns. So to get these extra patterns, 13 and 14, obviously they're exactly the same, so you can copy on the SP555. I'll do another video about some of the features which aren't that obvious on the 555. There's no obvious copy and paste, there's no obvious exchanging of pads and that kind of thing, but you can still do it on the 555. So I'll do another video about that very soon. If you're a 555 user and you're wondering why those features aren't available, they probably are. There's a different way to do them than the SX, so I'll do another video about that very soon. So yeah, that's basically all I did. I copied the pads and put that little rap vocal over the top for 14. 13 is a straight loop, as I mentioned, and 15 just without any drums whatsoever. So the next thing I did after that is, once I was happy with that, I kind of improvised the order, and the great thing about the pattern sequencer is it automatically will trigger the next sequence in time with the rest of the beat. So I'll give you an example here. We'll play 13 and then I'll press 14 halfway through it and it will automatically chain it onto the end. So have a look at this. And with the SP devices, what it'll do is it'll just keep playing that loop continuously until you change or press cancel. So yeah, I got those three sections together, took the line out from my SP555 and then ended up recording into my tape deck. So here's the tape deck over here, very simple stuff, just a standard cassette, a Type 1 cassette. And yeah, just literally press record on this, played those sequences out of the SP555 in the order that I was happy with. And then to get a fade out on the end, I keep doing this, I should probably just do it later in the DAW, but I actually just use the volume control on the SP555 and slowly fade it out to get a fade off this onto this tape. After that, it's relatively straightforward. You just take the line out from the tape into the front of my audio interface. Here's my audio interface. I'm actually using this at the moment to record this video, so they're not the cables I would be using, but they're the same slots that I go into. So I'd go into both of those and then just record the beat live from the tape in Ableton. So that was it, guys. That was the full process of making the beat on the 555, transferring it to tape and then putting it into my DAW or digital audio workstation, which is Ableton. You don't need anything fancy to bounce a track from tape to your computer. Even Audacity will do the job for you. It's literally just the waveform that you need. You don't need to put any effects on it or anything like that. Well, I don't feel you need to anyway, because you're getting that nice lo-fi grit off the tape and off the effects that I've used in the 555 as well. And that is my process for beat making really at the moment. It varies between device. Obviously, I tend to stick to the 404SX, but for this one, yeah, I thought I'd branch out and use the 555. It's a lot of fun to use, and the pads feel really nice on this one as well. So I hope that was fun for you to watch, guys. I hope it gave you some insight into how I make beats, and hopefully gives you some ideas for making beats as well. As I mentioned, if you've got any questions or comments, let me know below. And don't forget, you can support me by heading to spvids.com and picking up a lo-fi drum pack. They'll be very similar to the sounds I've used there. They're not exactly the same. I didn't use my personal packs for that. But there are sounds in there that are very, very similar, and you'll be able to make similar sounding loops with. So yeah, head over to spvids.com and pick up one of those. It really helps support the channel. That would be amazing. Also, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. I do content like this on a very regular basis. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. Get involved with the community, and there'll be loads more content like this coming out very soon. Appreciate you watching, guys. I appreciate all the support this year. I'm going to keep pumping out the videos for the foreseeable future, so I'll be back very soon with more content. Keep making beats. Peace.